everyone, and welcome to Link's new online show. My name is Avalon and I'm part of the team here at Link Engine Management. As you probably know, Link has staff located all over the world, along with some amazing tuners, drivers and event partners. The idea behind this series is to catch up with some of these people and give you the inside scoop. So with the absolute honour of being first up is Brendon White from D1NZ. So this is New Zealand's National Drifting Championship, the premier series here in New Zealand. I won't steal your thunder, Brendon. I'll get you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your involvement in drifting and of course what D1NZ is all about.
Oh, thanks Avalon. Man, wow. Talk about being first cab off the rank for a start, eh? But it's cool, man. Link Engine Management it's a New Zealand company. D1NZ is a New Zealand brand, so why not, eh? Start with New Zealand. So hi guys, my name is Brendon White. I'm the Managing Director of D1NZ. Have been for about 15 years now. D1NZ started out in 2003 and I took over around 06, 07. Traditionally it was a, your traditional motorsport tracks. Over the years, we've developed into car park rounds, street circuit rounds, custom events, much like you see in Formula Drift and DMEC and IDC. So New Zealand very much following suit from the global scale.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see that championship grow from year to year. It's been pretty incredible. And this year you made some big changes, running with Speedworks being one of them, and of course the indoor round at ASB Show Grounds. Let's go back to the beginning though, in those first few rounds with Speedworks. So for those outside of New Zealand, the first couple of rounds of D1NZ this year will run with circuit racing. So that's pretty unique and pretty special. How did that go for everyone?
Every year D1NZ tries to find new ways to interact with our fans, give our fans value, give the drivers value, but also get different fans into the sport. So Speedworks offers TRS, which is the Toyota Racing Series, the 86 Series, Porsche, very traditional motorsport in New Zealand, and D1NZ, it's very much still in its infancy. So we're always trying to expose fans to that are in traditional motorsport to come over to drifting, not to steal them, but to show them. And also then give our fans that are into drifting value when they come to the track to see things, it's great. Drifting's great and you come into the pits and there's just war machines of all sorts of different caliber. But we also want them to come in and be able to go, wow, look at that Porsche or look at that TRS and see all sorts of motorsport. So it's value for dollar, because every family's got restricted money. If they choose to come to our event, we want to give them the most. So Teratoma was cool, man. It ticked the box. The drivers loved it. It's a real fast track. It's the top of fourth, top of fifth, depending on your gear ratios. It's very flowy. It is a long way away, the logistics to get down there. We didn't see the pro sports go down there. And we saw a few pros step off. But the South Island, for those international viewers, New Zealand's made up of 3 islands. The Stewart Island always gets forgotten. The South Island is, it's got a heavy motorsport following. There's some amazing tracks down there. So we're talking to 3 different, venues and partners down there at the moment about the 2021 championship. So yes, we do look to, take it back down there where, the fans will have to wait and find out.
Moving on to ASB Show Grounds, in the midst of a global pandemic, you came up with the idea to run New Zealand's first indoor drifting event. A little bit crazy, but it seemed to go down an absolute treat. Do you want to tell us a bit more about how the idea came about and how you managed to pull it off?
So the ASB Show Grounds one, we looked at a lot of different venues because when you're in when you have to take away mass gathering, I've never wanted to take away the fans, but when you take away the fans, you take away scatter fencing, you take away concrete barriers, grandstands, all the things that make a venue a lot bigger. So all of a sudden you can go to all these different venues, and all of a sudden I was like a little kid in a candy store. I was like, it's massive. And I've watched the likes of Ken Block Gymkhana, Netflix, Hyperdrive, watched Mike's done with Drift Shifters, what DMEC is doing overseas, with their theatrical show. We've also, we have to hold our head high here in New Zealand. We've done a lot of custom events over the years. We've done Forsyth Bar, and we've done many different styled events. And it's like I said before, drifting's in its infancy. We don't know where it's going. It's like 15 years old, 20 years old in New Zealand. So no one's got the right or wrong formula yet. And I think there's going to be a lot of changes in the future. So ASB was kind of like, okay, well, if I could do something really cool, what would it be? And that was it was near perfect on what I had in my mind. But the fantastic thing with Kiwis is everyone, the showgrounds, the suppliers, Sky Sport, everyone was like, let's just make this happen. It was designed to be when there were no fans. So then the government was like, hey, we're going to come out of lockdown straight away. And I'm like, whoa, that's not bad. What do I do? I don't have plans for people being at this event. So, it was a really risky move to bring fans into that event, but we were happy to because, we done a lot of warnings, we done a lot of pre-work around health and safety and mitigation, brought in a lot of extraction units and that sort of stuff. So, all in all, there were some doubters, and there were some drivers that, they like to go fast. They've built high horsepower war machines, and it didn't really suit them, which is fine. Again, we don't know where drifting's going to go. But overall, 99% of people are like, dude, what did we just do? And you can't do that without everyone. It's a show. Without the drivers, we don't have a show. Without our team, we don't see it. And the drivers really bought in on it. And now it's like, okay, well, the world's kind of our oyster as far as what we want to do moving forward. So we've got some pretty special things planned, but we just have to wait till those releases happen for the 2021 season.
Yeah, it sounds super exciting, and as you said, it's nice to have that variety in the championship with a bit of a slower, more technical track. So yeah, pretty exciting to see what else you have in store. One thing I probably would like to touch on that is really unique in New Zealand is what you've done at Bay Park, laying that tarmac underneath the speedway track. That's so unique, our global viewers probably don't know about that. So do you want to just explain a little bit about the track there in Tauranga?
Yeah, totally. I think for us, it was Poland. DMEC did one in Poland inside, and it was quite a long time ago. And that's kind of what inspired me with Forsyth. Forsyth was a huge undertaking. It was a risky undertaking because that's actually a rugby pitch that sits on top of a whole bunch of irrigation. So just the insurance piece of paper for Forsyth was $20,000 to make sure that we didn't sink the pitch, just for a piece of paper. But if we had sunk the pitch, well, then they would have paid to replace the pitch. So that taught us a lot of things. We've done a lot of street circuits, a lot of custom concrete car park courses, but we want to go to that next level. And Forsyth was good, but it was a learning curve. And then Bay Park came along, and it's got that, that natural bowl from the speedway. It used to be a rugby field. It's got the court to make it happen. We did the Tauranga's biggest single pour of concrete. I think in the end it was like 122 truckloads of concrete back to back. It was pretty stressful because a tropical cyclone came in the night before and it flooded the whole venue. And at 2 a.m. I got a letter from the concrete layer saying, you need to sign this because the concrete might not set. So you may not have a track. And then the concrete supply company came and they said, you need to sign this as well. And we were faced with this risk. It was 1 week before the event. It's the only time we could have poured. So if we hadn't turned the concrete taps on at that stage, we wouldn't have had an event, which means we would have had to cancel Bay Park. And we've never, in the 15 years I've been running, cancelled an event. So we turned the taps on in a tropical cyclone. It was a pretty stressful day. But at the end of it, the sun was shining by the end of it. The boys had a box of beer and we just looked at it and we went, and it's just like ASB Show Grounds, with no risk, there's no reward. So that was a pretty special moment. We've got that track. I actually was just down in Tauranga yesterday and we've negotiated a few things for next year. And finally this year, that track was meant to be actually a grassroots track for 7 months of the year, but COVID unfortunately stopped that. But we've negotiated that will stay next year. So it's good for New Zealand drifting as well. More places to go is good. I'm very lucky that I get to keep doing what I do. It's been a while since I've been doing it, it's been a minute, but the people we work with are so passionate about it. We've got a really passionate team. We've got a really passionate amount of drivers. And that's why I keep doing what I do, is because, at the end of it, we're all fist pumping each other, we're all jumping, there's a mad battle going, we're jumping up, down, we forget that we're live on TV and we're like, oh crap, you got to do that because we're passionate about the sport. Without the team and the drivers to do that, it just would stop. And when that stops, then I'd stop running a series. Very grateful and the stakeholders and sponsors that keep supporting us. I guess respects to those guys overseas, the different championships that, we were all involved with, that are sort of still going through that. We're lucky here in New Zealand, and we actually kind of forget that the whole world's still in this really unprecedented time. So, a lot of thoughts go out to all those different championships that are still tied up in there.
Yeah, 100%. We are behind them all the way as well. And speaking of that, next weekend is the final round of the 2020 D1NZ Championship at Pukekohe. We do have unlimited crowd numbers here in New Zealand. So what are your expectations for that event?
ultimately we get to crown champions. Pukekohe is a special place for us. It's a fast track. It's the end of a very, I guess, testing but interesting season for us. We hold our heads high that we managed to finish the season, and we persevered with it. For the first time ever, we've been live on Sky TV, and that's huge in itself. We were one of the only drifting championships globally to produce a live TV product. So we're going to finish out on a high, man. We're going to go to Pukekohe. We're going to crown 2 champions. We're going to crown winners for the round. We're going to take some hot laps, and people are going to see, the fastest drifting corner in the world. Hopefully it doesn't rain again, touch wood. And that's a special place. And Pukekohe will always be on the championship calendar in some way, shape or form. So if this video comes out before the grand final, you need to get there if you're anywhere in the Upper North Island. And it holds a special place in a lot of drivers' hearts. So then obviously by the time this video comes out, we would have also announced that Link ECU is chucking up a storm for people buying tickets to come along, because Gaz White, a 4-time New Zealand champ, is back for the final. And to be the best, you got to beat the best. And Gaz is a phenomenal driver, so can't wait to see him sliding at Pukekohe as well.
Well, you do have that awesome level of support from many, many companies, but what does it mean to have Link ECU behind the championship once again this year?
I could get really cheesy, but I won't. Yeah, we've had a real long-standing relationship with Link, way before it went international. So we've grown with Link. So there's a certain amount of pride. We're a Kiwi brand that we're one of the oldest drifting championships in the world now. We've been around a long time, and we've grown with the Link brand. And it's, I guess, for us, it's quite cool to see that Link's gone internationally, and it's done what it's done with D1NZ and its drivers, because it's not only supported D1NZ as a series, it's also how many cars in our series run Link, and now how many cars globally run Link. And so it's a cool thing to see a Kiwi brand that we've been involved with overseas killing it. And it's just so carefree and hassle-free. So no, we don't want Link to go anywhere anytime soon. And I want to grow other things with Link, with drifting. Like I said, drifting is very much a new sport in the scheme in the realm of motorsport. Motorsport's been around a long time. So we haven't even touched the surface on what's capable with your ECUs and drifting, and there's all sorts of things that are going behind the scenes that fans are going to be able to interact with in the future.
On that, where do you see drifting heading? Like, are you willing to put yourself out there and put any predictions on the table? Because we all know the sport is growing so fast. So do you see it going really big places in the future? Yeah, it is a hard question, because there is, from a structural perspective, the FIA has the FIA working group with drifting. And then you've got these individual promoters, Jim and Ryan with Formula Drift, Dave at DMEC, the IDC boys, Brazil's coming out now. There's a lot of individual championships, and all of those individual championships have their own ideas on how to take the sport to new levels. Without a doubt, you've got the fundamentals, which is top 32, 16, 8, drift cars and the rules, and we all very much try to balance the rule sets internationally, so we kind of follow suit. So there is some similarity and structure across the board in the global drifting scene. However, there's the breakaways, there's the likes of Mikey doing drift shifters, there's the likes of us doing things at ASB Show Grounds, and there's multiple other events globally that are doing, like the Red Bull Drift car park series. Where is drifting going to go? I think a lot of technology is going to come into play in the future. You can see that it's not there just quite yet, but I know that that's going to be a big factor, because at the end of the day, a human element of judging is quite hard to understand. D1GP uses the DOS system, but it's very hard from the Western world to understand. I know that the Western world will be bringing in technology a lot in the future. I personally think that drifting has always got to be a show. We've got to put on a show. We've got these multiple different manufacturers with multiple different engines, with multiple different personalities and stylizing, and that's the cool thing about drifting, is any person on the day can come out with this angry war machine and win. And we need to be able to make sure that we're creating an atmosphere for the fans to come in and interact with that in the best way. And personally, I don't see traditional
racetracks constantly being the way forward. That's just my personal opinion. I think we need to be able to offer a togue. We need to be able to offer anywhere where a drift car can go to be able to be a competition. And like I said, we're only scratching the surface. There's going to be a lot of changes in the future. There's going to be promoters come and go, and it's going to be the people that take the risk and evolve and really push the limits of what these cars are capable of. I can't tell you where it's going to go, Avalon. I just know where we're going, and you'll have to wait and see. Because the big announcement for D1NZ will be at Big Boys Toys in November on sort of the public announcements on what we're doing. We already sort of got a pretty good grip on what we want for 2021 and 2022.
Yeah. No, that was actually really interesting, especially what you're saying about the technology. There's a lot of ideas floating around out there at the moment, and it'd be really cool to see those ideas come to fruition. For me personally, what I love about drifting is the fun element, especially at that grassroots level. Guys are just going out and having a good time and just enjoying motorsport in its purest form, which is really cool to see. And I'm sure you find it fun running the events. Would you rather be driving at times?
For sure. Every time I get in our car that we've got for the series, I break it. I think, but everybody does. Like, there's something wrong with the car's cursed. We know, for example, when you're trying to sell a sponsor, sponsorship's another whole game that we could talk about in another little video conference. But when you're trying to sell a sponsor, get them in a car. Take them for a hot lap. Pukekohe, like so many of my drivers next Thursday know that any sponsor they're working on for the following season, get them in the car, because it's so exhilarating. It's so, it just really is. You're drifting, and then they chuck that way when you're meant to be going that way at 200 kilometers an hour. It's cool. I'd love to drive. I do love driving. I've still got a really cool passion for it. Like I said, like when we're live on Sky TV, we'll see a real sick battle, and we've got to calm ourselves because I'm jumping up and down, and so is Joe in race control. So from that perspective, got the 86, going to take the 86 for a home. That's backed by Link ECU. We run a 2J that. Daigo, Ryan, Jake Jones, they've all had a squirt at it. So now I'm going to have a little play. I'd love to do some competition drifting, much like Dave Egan. He's kind of stepped himself back, and he now gets to go competitively drifting. And after 15 years, you kind of wonder, I wonder if I could put it door to door with the best. But at the same time, we're so passionate about what we do for a living that it's quite hard. So there's a few things for me personally, like ASB Show Grounds, or when you work so hard for say 3 or 4 months, and it's over within a weekend, but you've pulled it off, and that you've given everybody something unique that hasn't been done before. And in a world of a lot of norm, that's pretty cool to be able to do. Especially with such radical, personalities in cars. I think for me, it is the vibe you get, definitely in the pits. It's the camaraderie and the jokes and the banter. And that's the cool thing about drifting. Sometimes we're a bit unprofessional because, we all like to have a laugh. But for me, I guess it's there is nothing that beats that, that door-to-door battle and how fun and exciting it is to watch. So there's a multitude. Sorry, my kids have just walked in.
That's okay.
Hey, mate.
Daddy, can I use my iPad?
Can you use your iPad in 5 minutes? Do you want to say hi to everyone? Say what's up, guys?
What do you love about drifting? Fast cars? No.
Too shy. I'll come in a minute with it, buddy, okay?
Okay, so speaking of that door-to-door action, what have been the standout performances for you this year?
Look, the cool thing about drifting, I said earlier, was anyone can win on the day. And we have some amazing cars in our field. Vanger with the Ford Mustang, it's backed by Ford New Zealand. It's been driven over in the States, amazing machinery. Darren with the R35. And then you've got someone like Taylor James. He's from Tokoroa. It's his first year in pro. And his car's 25 grand. And he's winning the championship, So that's the thing about drifting is you don't need this massive car, because driver skill. You know, it comes down to the skill and it comes down to what you do on the day. So standout performances for me is Liam Burt, you know, Taylor James, these new kids on the block, really having a go to the pros. And these guys were, you know, watching their idols, you know, 5 years ago on TV, and now they're doing it. They say it constantly in their interviews, how just, you know, surreal it is for them to be battling against these dudes. And that's another reason I do this, is because, you know, you're constantly seeing that. So standouts this year, Taylor James, Liam Burt for sure. Favourite car in the series right now, I saw that as a question. It'd have to be Dave Steadman. Bang bang, you know. It's so cool.
Yeah, those
Which
Team
I think
DSF
also-
always put on a show, don't they?
He
Man?
runs a link. He runs a link as well. So, but you know, I don't play favourites. Everyone's like, "Who's your favourite driver?" You know, they're all epic, and they're all cool to have in the series, because if I have a favourite, then all of a sudden when he wins a battle, oh, it's just because Brent. No.
On that note, we'll leave you. I'm sure you've got lots to organise ahead of a big weekend competing. So thank you very much for your time today, and yeah, good luck. We'll all see you at Pukekohe.
Sweet as, thanks Evelyn. And don't forget guys, Pukekohe's Grand Final is next Friday, Saturday. You can find all the information on D1NZ.com, the Facebook page. And if you can't get there, tune in live on Sky Sport in New Zealand. It'll be live from 1:30 p.m. on the Saturday. And if you can't, if you're not in New Zealand, you can tune in via motorsport.tv's app, and you can also tune in Australia via KO Fox Sports platform. So we'll see you there, or we'll see you on one of those platforms. Thanks again, Evelyn, for having me along. First one, awesome, in the can.
Nailed it. Thanks, Brendon.
See ya.